What's going on? Joe here, and this is the 2023 review of the Canon R6 Mark II. One of my very first videos was the 1-year review of the Canon R6 Mark I, where I gave it really high marks for being a great hybrid camera, pretty much all around for photo and video. Top 3, in my opinion. And all of the features that I loved about that camera pretty much remain in this new one. I won't go over all of those features in depth, but some of the things that I listed that I loved about the original that carried over are low light performance, sharp footage, C-Log 3 to match some of my other Canon cameras, excellent professional photo quality, small file sizes, and the utilization of UHS 2 SD cards. And unique features like the small files and UHS 2 cards makes a huge difference in storage and how much money you spend in storage. I've edited files for a podcast recently, and some of the files that come in from the remote guests on cameras that are shooting a similar codec but from a different brand don't have the Canon IPB compression, come back at times 5 times larger than the files that I'm using for myself, with really no noticeable quality difference. So if you're shooting long form content and things where image quality isn't the utmost importance, things like podcasts, people won't really notice in a lot of those forms, you should seriously consider Canon because the IPB files are excellent to work with and they save tons of space. And all of these things are a really big deal. Keeping the fundamental things that people loved about the original camera line is a huge deal. It means that Canon is actually listening to consumers. So why then would I upgrade if I like the Mark I so much? Well, right off the bat, I can tell you it wasn't photo quality. The photo quality of the original was excellent. I had no issues with using it, even in the professional setting with clients and everything. I would say the biggest knock on 20 megapixels on the original and then 24 on this Mark II version is that the ability to crop is kind of taken away from you. You can crop in a little bit, but if you're cropping something like landscape and then blowing it up into a larger form picture, then the quality difference might be noticeable. So for those people, I would say 24 megapixels is not enough. I tend to crop just a little bit, if at all, so it's not really a big deal for me. And also the shutter settings that the Canon R6 Mark II offers, up to 30 frames per second, I believe, improved from 20 frames per second. Don't quote me on that. From the original Mark I are things that I don't use, so I don't really know too much about it. I know that it's great to have a sub $3,000 camera that has professional sports photography features on it. So I would say for those people, absolutely awesome. And you also end up with files that aren't super huge either. So on the video side, there have been some very key improvements, and a lot of them have really improved my workflow or completely changed my workflow altogether. And we'll start with some of the minor improvements. The new 24 megapixel sensor has created a 6K image that is then downsampled to the 4K image that comes out of the R6 Mark II. And I can tell you from experience, it is quite a bit sharper than the previous, but the previous was sharp enough for me. So it's improvement, but one that I seem to think of as more of a minor improvement for my own workflow. And a big problem with the original Canon R6 Mark I was the overheating. And I'm glad to say that the overheating is not really a big issue with this camera. It's pretty much on par with cameras like the Sony a7 IV. You can shoot pretty much as long as you need to shoot, unless you're shooting at 4K 60p at the highest settings, which I never do. So the two new features that have made the biggest difference for me in video are the elimination of the record limit as well as the inclusion of false color. And I'll start with the no record limit. If you've ever shot long form content like interviews or podcasts, having to stop the camera every 30 minutes and break the train of thought is annoying for one. It can really affect the flow of the interviewer and the interviewee or break up the conversation. But also having to sync and edit multiple files to a sound file or having different pieces scattered apart, it can be a real annoyance and just extend the time that you edit so much. Having one file have everything is a huge advantage. So now your only limitation is the LP6 battery that's in the camera, and the included battery has lasted 90 minutes, just slightly over 90 minutes for some of the podcasts that I've shot at 1080p, with a little bit of battery life left actually. So I wouldn't be surprised if the camera was able to go up to 2 hours or just a little bit more at 1080p, and at 4K you'll have to find out for yourself. The longest clips I've shot at 4K are about 20 to 30 minutes. And the other feature that I like the most is the addition of false color. So false color is my preferred tool to use for exposing video footage. I've made videos on using zebras to expose C-Log 3, and zebras is definitely the most common, especially when it comes to hybrid cameras. But unlike zebras, false color analyzes the entire frame, not just a certain IRE level, but it detects all the IRE levels throughout the entire frame and tells you how each individual piece is exposed. So you know when a piece of the image is underexposed here, or when an image is exposed perfectly, like my face right now. Normally you would need to use an external monitor in order to get features such as false color on pretty much every camera except for a cinema camera. But the fact that it is included in a mid-level professional camera, Canon is actually upping its game in the video realm. I don't believe that any other one of the hybrid cameras in this price range have false color. It's turning out to be like a little mini C70 that I can take around, my mini cinema camera. The only thing it's lacking that C70 has that would keep me from switching it out every single time is internal ND filters. So if Canon, if you're listening, please put internal ND filters in a hybrid body. That would be a game changer. So to cap it off, the Canon R6 Mark II is a great buy, especially at $2,500. It retains pretty much all of the things that you like about this mid-professional level R6 model line. Things like blazing fast autofocus, great file sizes, usage of UHS 2 SD cards, which are super cheap, excellent ergonomics, and professional photo quality. And it adds some new game-changing video features like dropping all the record limits, false color, which I love a lot. It's going to help a lot of people expose their footage better, and better heat management. I hope you enjoyed this review of the Canon R6 Mark II. Please drop a like or a comment on the video with any sort of questions that you might have. All of that helps a lot. And of course, subscribe if you want to see more camera and tech reviews, as well as tutorials on how to use your Canon cameras. My name's Joe, and I'm signing out. I haven't really mastered that sign out yet. Anyways, I'll see you next time.